Hey guys, Steven here, Fanatic Perspective. Exciting time right before the NFL Combine, the 2024 NFL Combine. Myself as a Texas fan, I'm really excited this year. I always plug in to the Combine these next, few days. I'm glued to the NFL Network, watching all the workouts, drills, interviews, whatnot. As an NFL head, as a Cowboys fan, obviously everybody looking to improve their teams, and the Combine is a fun, interactive event with fans and, seeing people running the 40 benches and all those things and comparing the metrics over with athletes over the years. I've always been a combine guy. But this year in particular, with the season that the Texas Longhorns had, 11 Texas Longhorns invited to the NFL Combine that will be participating in Indianapolis this week. And I got to cover this. I got to talk about this because this is a group of guys who I've watched over the last few years grow, a group of guys that have, come through adversity, some guys that transferred into this program to help us, but many that helped get Texas back on track and obviously making the college football playoffs last year, winning the Big 12 last season, and getting into the SEC in stride. So we're going to be talking about the 11 Longhorns that are going into the draft. If you're a draft person, if you're an NFL person and you want to get a little insight into some of these players, I'm going to be doing kind of just a little brief dive on each person and, just talking ball with you guys as normal. So if you like this, hit the like button, subscribe, the whole bit, share with a friend. I'd really appreciate it. Gonna start having some content more regularly on the channel. I know I have been busy with some personal stuff, but happy to be back and talking ball as always. I also want to give a shout out. We got a new sponsor. I know I told y'all about Autograph. Autograph, an amazing app, rewards for fans. Guys, we're getting rewarded for fandom. Hit the App Store, download Autograph, use that promo code Fanatic24. All of the content that you use as a Texas Longhorn fan, hear me out, because we are trying to grow this platform, especially with Texas Longhorn fans. All the content you currently read, listen to, or watch, i.e. this video, or Inside Texas, or Orange Bloods, all of that stuff that you guys consume on a daily basis, keeping up with the Texas Longhorns, do it through the Autograph app and get rewarded. What do I mean by that? There's loyalty points associated with everything that you do, whether you read an article, whether you listen to a podcast, whether you watch a video. And you get opportunity to sign up for, prizes, memorabilia, opportunities for custom merch from the team, things that we as fans care about, especially, live sporting events and having an opportunity to attend those. This is something that launched last year. Autograph is partially owned by Tom Brady, and they actually started with Michigan and ran this through, and some fans were able to have an opportunity to win, super discounted tickets to the Rose Bowl. Some fans were able to win a custom experience. So guys, check out Autograph. They're currently, since it's college basketball season, they're currently doing a Madness sweepstakes contest, which means if you as long as you sign up and use that Fanatic24 promo code, you will have an opportunity through March 15th to win a VIP experience. Here's how you enter the sweepstakes. You refer a friend. You tell another Texas fan, hey, this app's pretty dope. Download it. It's free to use. And you refer a friend. And you get that referral is your entry into the sweepstakes. It's as simple as that. But check out Autograph. Let's grow this platform together. We already listen and watch and read all this stuff. We might as well get rewarded for it on Autograph. So I'm going to share my screen here so we can talk some ball, and it's really impressive because it's not just that we have 11 guys in this in this combine, right? I mean, that's impressive in itself, the guys in terms of that are draft eligible. But the fact that you have 11 players who are, who have the opportunity to go in the first and second round, right? So when we look at these grades here, and we'll get into, we'll start with Byron Murphy, but of these grades, anything above a 6.19, and this is, Lance Zierlein and the guys that do the NFL, these are the NFL's metrics, but, our guys are grading out pretty well across any of the scouting websites or platforms that you use. Anything above a 6.19, they're basically saying you're a future starter with at least within, I believe, the next couple seasons. So right off the bat, that's one, two, three, four, five guys, and then in Worthy's case, they have him as 6.16, so he's right at that threshold of somebody that would start their career as a backup and eventually develop into a starter. And Christian Jones obviously would have that ability as well. So even down through the guys we have, and Keelan Robinson and Jordan Whittington, this is really, really impressive. And it goes to show, speaks to the success that Texas had on the field in 2023, right? And how this program is developed, and hopefully starting, as Sark said, I want to have at least 8 guys going in the NFL draft every single year. We want this to be a factory. We want this to be an opportunity where you come to Texas, you are developed, and you're going to, be graded the way that these guys are. And that's a testament to their work ethic, but also a testament to the Texas program, the Texas coaching staff of developing these young men. So really excited as a fan, more than ever to just watch these guys and see their performances. So, as I go, our top rated guy, and we had the 2 best defensive tackles, in the country, in the nation this past season, in terms of overall grade, and T'Vondre Sweat obviously winning, being recognized as the best lineman in the country. But Byron Murphy, from an NFL standpoint, is the guy that this league is looking at in terms of, hey, he can come in, instant impact, and be a great player. Look at his NFL comp at Oliver, right? At Oliver, who's a fantastic player on the Buffalo Bills, and a 3-down player, can play inside and outside. And when you look at Byron Murphy's body type, explosiveness, and just natural strength and pass rushing ability from the interior, this is a guy that whether you're running a 3-4 or 4-3, I believe his preference is a 4-3. But if he's playing, let's say, a 3-tech or any type of hybrid role inside there, look out. This is a guy that can develop into a Pro Bowl level player, because he has all of the traits. He stayed very healthy at Texas. He has that drive. He has that motor. And you saw the productiveness in terms of the pass rushing ability at Texas. A lot of these guys coming out, they win with raw strength, and, they're really, really good against the run just with their natural ability, but they have a ways to go to develop some of those tricks of the trade of defeating a guard or defeating a double team between a guard tackle or guard center. Byron Murphy, that's an area, my personal opinion, where he really excels and stands out as one of the better defensive interior pass rushers in this draft, which is rare to find, right? We're not going to go and start comparing people to Aaron Donald. He's one of one. But if you look at the body type and the frame and the explosiveness that gives, people fits in the league, that's where Byron Murphy comes into play. And if you look at his body right now, and I've seen him been, interview wise, he looks in phenomenal shape. And as good as I've seen him, I love the way he's been speaking. He actually gave a shout out to Anthony Hill and said he's going to be the next menace out of the University of Texas to go in the first round. So we will be on the lookout for that for Ant Hill year 2. But for Byron Murphy, they have weaknesses: arm length, size. Yes, he is small. He's that can be at a disadvantage for him. But with that explosiveness, his first step, a lot of that he should be able to overcome. And be I agree with that comparison of an Ed Oliver. I think he can be that level of a pro player at the next level. Also, the cool thing about this with our guys, Byron Murphy's probably going to be the first person off the board, maybe top 20, top 25. But as these guys are going in the first and second round, a lot of them are going to be going to good teams. And if you look at the mock drafts, guys like A.D. Mitchell, who could potentially go to the back end of the first round, you're looking at teams like the Kansas City Chiefs who are looking for weapons, teams like the Buffalo Bills who are looking for weapons. Byron Murphy, I've seen him, being mocked to teams like Seattle, who are right there at the cusp of making the playoffs, need a little bit more help in the interior to match the secondary and some of the young talent they have on the back end, right? With Witherspoon and, Wooden and all those guys, Tariq Woolen that they have back there, right? And matching that up with guys up front. So Byron Murphy, out of DeSoto, dog. Okay. That's what you need to know about him. Absolute dog. They got him at 6'1", 308. We'll see. We'll obviously get all official measurements and times and all those good things, but really, really, really excited for Byron. T Sweat is the celebrity, if you will, right? And he's got a unique, right now they have him at 362, 6'4", 362. So he's obviously a massive human being. Don't get it twisted. He is an athlete. I also do not believe he will ever play football in the NFL at 362 pounds. I think that's going to go down to the 340s, 330s. I'm really, really, out of all our guys, really curious to see how he weighs in and what that looks like. His comp right now is Vita Vea or Sam Adams. I probably have him closer to a Vita Vea. Maybe even, something like what was the guy's name? I think it was Danny Watkins or the other kid that came out of Washington a few years ago that was really, really big, but had a lot of those movement skills. T Sweat is actually a little bit more finesse than Byron Murphy is, which sounds crazy yet again, but his size and his movement are very, very uncanny. But he does generate power within that athleticism. He does know how to use his power very, very well. And one of the reasons why he won all the awards and the accolades that he did and was really recognized as the best lineman in the country was he had a flair for the dramatic. He made huge plays with his length, against the pass, tipping passes, or 4th and 1, 3rd and 1 tackles in the backfield, and really allowing our defense to make, some really, really huge plays and being that juggernaut in the middle to where teams really didn't elect to even run, remotely run the ball on us on the inside, only on a few occasions. That is, a testament to Devondre Sweat and Byron Murphy. You guys see their massive space eater, as they say here, and ability. A lot of these teams you'll see with some of the bigger tackles. Hey, if they're one tech, can you protect our backers? Can our linebackers see? Right? Can they roam because you're commanding double teams? You're eating up space. You're, like it says, massive space eater, and allowing those guys to flow the football and be able to read their keys better because of your ability to take up space. That's something that Devondre Sweat's going to be expected to do day one, right? When he gets to the NFL. What I'm looking for him to develop is with better shape, being able to play when there's tempo, being able to play because I think you can actually. This is another person, weirdly enough, that you can have some positional versatility to move around the line. I think he can play some 3-tech at times. One of the areas though is conditioning, where you can get T Sweat, and when he's tired, and some of these teams now happen more so in college than you'll ever see in the NFL, but just getting that conditioning up to where it needs to be, the weight where it needs to be, he can be a home run NFL player because of the flash, and because of the raw ability. I mean, this is a kid who was under 300 pounds when we got him a few years ago. And to see how he's grown, but still maintained his athleticism and developed his power into becoming a great football player, really, really excited to see what happens with T Sweat. I also am excited to see who he plays next to at the next level. Because, if he gets paired, let's say he's also in a 4-3 and he's paired with another big boy or another monster like a Byron Murphy, I think he'll have the ability to get off even earlier in his career and have more of a higher impact than if you're plugging him in to be the middle of more of a three-man front, right? And so, not to say that he can't do that, but I am curious to see where the fit for him will be. So, really excited for T Sweat and how he'll test. I think he's another guy when you see him go through drills, people will be shocked. People will be shocked. Now, for our guys, Adonai Mitchell, AD, for some of you who was our Georgia transfer and just unbelievable season. He on here has getting a 6.37 grade. A lot of people actually have him, potentially being a first rounder. So I think Texas could potentially have 3 to 4 first round picks. Again, later in the first round, I just now the thing with AD and even Xavier Worthy, this is a very, very deep receiver draft. I mean, we don't have to. I mean, Malik Neighbors, Roma Dunze, Marvin Harrison Jr., guys like Lad McConkey are flying up there. Brian Thomas Jr. out of LSU. There's a lot of dogs in this draft. A lot of dogs. Troy Franklin out of Oregon. And so we'll see. I think a lot of it will come down to preference with these teams. But as folks are diving into the film, and I'm skipping AD Mitchell because I was watching a video of Steve Smith today talking about AD Mitchell, and I think it was Brett Coleman that made the comparison. I retweeted it of comparing him to CeeDee Lamb in terms of his route running ability and fluidity. Now, AD is a little taller at 6'4", but their body and their lean and how they run, you definitely see the comparison there. Productivity wise, AD, big reason why he came to Texas was he needed, obviously more tape, more reps, and playing in a pro style offense featured under Steve Sarkisian. He was able to be showcased this year, had double-digit touchdowns. Now, CeeDee Lamb was obviously more productive at OU in terms of statistics, but AD Mitchell, I think his average route run was over 16 yards, which was 7th in the country, and just a guy who was asked to, really be downfield a bunch because of our offense and how we were using Xavier Worthy. But he can do everything at the next level, in terms of route running, yards after catch. I think AD Mitchell is probably going to be a better NFL receiver and better suited for the NFL than he was for the college game. Only one drop last year at Texas and was, enormously clutch for us. Think back to the TCU game. His comp is George Pickens. Anybody that knows me knows I'm a president of the George Pickens fan club. I think people throw around George Pickens comps a lot. But I don't know if he's as fast as George. George ran 4.4 coming off of a torn ACL. That's how explosive he is. I probably like an AD more closer to CeeDee Lamb in his fluidity, in terms, again, just traits, not how good he is. But the potential's there. And the fact that he can catch balls with his hands, and the catch radius. Quinn Ewers and Malik Murphy really, really, didn't always throw the most accurate passes downfield. But he's a guy where, you put in his area code, he will go get it. And that's something, at Texas, between him and Jatavian Sanders, we're going to have to replace. And you're talking about a guy who's not just productive against man, but also productive in zone. I actually like AD Mitchell and how he ran his routes against zone coverages, sitting down, knowing when to sit down, finding windows, and being on the same page with quarterback. He's a high IQ receiver when you watch him on film. And I think that's why Steve Smith had him as one of his top 5 receivers in the draft. So if you're looking at AD Mitchell, Kansas City Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, AD's going to go to a good team. This kind of reminds me, he's not the leaper of this guy, but this kind of reminds me when T. Higgins went to the Bengals in this, like, early in the second round a few years back, and just immediately was super, super productive for them, right? So really, really excited for AD Mitchell. Jatavian Sanders. Last year we had a run in the draft on tight ends, right? And then you look at the first couple rounds. The Cowboys drafted Luke Schoonmaker, but you see what the Detroit Lions did with a guy like a Sam Laporta. Obviously Dalton Kincaid, in the first round, and Michael Meyer going to the Raiders later in the draft, and some of the just really good tight ends that have been featured, and how the NFL is progressing. Jatavian Sanders is a guy that the NFL has been looking at since he was at Denton Ryan, just with his athletic profile, his ability to play outside, and be a vertical threat. But one thing he showed at Texas was toughness over the seam, and really being that guy that's able to stretch the field, but also catch balls in traffic and have reliable hands. He is a willing blocker. I think he's underrated overall as a blocker, especially in the run game. He can be good at that, but he's not ever going to be like an elite guy in that area. He is going to be asked, and you want to use Jatavian Sanders in your passing game as much as possible. I even think at Texas he was, even with all the success we had, and you look at the big games with Jatavian, health willing, he was productive in all of our big games that we had. I actually think we left some meat on the bone with him, just featuring him in the pass game and some of the things he was able to do. I think he's a guy who you want him with one of the top quarterbacks. This is a guy, if he gets with if he gets with a Justin Herbert, or the Chiefs again could be looking at, hey, let's start looking at Travis Kelce, who's up there in age. Um, there's a lot of teams out there, especially looking at that Sam Laporta model from last year in Detroit. I actually compare Jatavian more to a Trey McBride of Arizona, who had a monster season with the Cardinals, especially when Kyler Murray came back. And, it seemed like he was 10 catches, 90 yards every single week. I think there's a little Mark Andrews in there with Jatavian. I think Jatavian can be a Pro Bowl level tight end. They have Njoku here as his comparison. I think he will be a more consistent player than David Njoku. There's weeks where David Njoku is a top 5 tight end, and there's weeks where he can't catch a pass or he disappears. My biggest thing with Jatavian is just his body and staying healthy. Honestly, I think that the gap between him and Brock Bowers is not as wide as people think. And while he's the clear tight end 2 in this draft, I think he has the potential to be as good as any of those young tight ends, even of the guys that were drafted last season. So speaking of last season, Jonathan Brooks, who was recovering from an ACL, very curious to see where he goes in this draft, especially with a lot of these NFL teams opting out of not franchise tagging or paying these runners. The Giants not paying Saquon Barkley, the Cowboys with Tony Pollard, the Titans with Derrick Henry, the Chargers with Austin Eckler. And so while Jonathan Brooks is still on the mend, there are reports and signs that he could be, ready to go, sooner than later, next season, right? And so when you look at Jonathan Brooks on film, he fits right into an NFL back, the prototypical NFL back you're looking for. That's why a guy like this that only started for 1 year at Texas was super productive, 1,000-yard rusher, and tore his ACL in the TCU game. Didn't even finish the year. Didn't even play with wasn't able to utilize him for the playoffs. But this was a guy who was sitting behind Bijan Robinson and Roschon Johnson, and quite frankly is just as fluid as can be. I've always compared him to Jamal Charles. He doesn't have the track speed. But in terms of more being that upright zone runner, smooth as hell, vision on 1,000, you think of outside zone. You think of the perfect opportunity for a Jonathan Brooks. Think of the Miami Dolphins, like a Mike McDaniel type scheme, those Kyle Shanahan type schemes. I look at a team like the Minnesota Vikings, where they run, a lot of those outside zone run schemes. They moved on from Dalvin, going to threaten your starter, whoever it is. Even teams, and a lot of these teams that are in that Shanahan outside zone window, he fits perfectly into that. And the beauty with Jonathan Brooks is his pass catching ability. He's one of the best backs I've seen in college with understanding spacing on screens, understanding patience with his blockers, allowing things to develop. He's a different type of runner. He has some of that stop start Le'Veon Bell type stuff with him. And it was cool because he was so different of a player from Bijan Robinson. They played in the same offense, but it was night and day, which they're different from Roshan. But you see how productive he was, just as productive as Bijan was when he was back there for us, and can run with power. Now, is he a short yardage goal line type runner? We'll see. But he will run with some pop, and he will generate big runs at the next level. So excited to see where he ends up, because I think he will obviously take a little fall because of the injury, but again, that means he may end up on a better team. And later in the season, where now he has fresh tread on his tires. Look at that, only 238 collegiate carries to his name. Now he's at an advantage because he sat behind Bijan and Roshan, who ate up all those carries. So really curious to see where he goes. But Jonathan Brooks is going to be just a dog at the next level. Starter. I mean, these are starters that we're getting to talk about here. When's the last time we got to break this down at Texas like this? Xavier Worthy's a starter too, and I'll run through some of these other guys here just for the sake of time. But I always had X coming into this year. I had him at a second, third round grade for me personally, and that was because I had questions about his ability to catch consistently with his hands. I've always liked X in terms of the load he carried at Texas the last 3 years, being our number one receiver, and the amount of volume that he had to work and staying healthy at his size and his frame, and the natural route running ability, short, intermediate, and deep. He's been terrific. Where I push his grade up now, probably as a high second rounder, and depending on how he runs, we do know Xavier Worthy is going to run the 40. So I probably have them mid to low 4.3s, which could change some teams depending on what they are looking for. But with Worthy, I thought he improved catching with his hands. He did have a hand issue with the broken bone in his hand his sophomore year. What I liked the most with him was his toughness. He was really banged up at the end of the last season, but he didn't miss times. He didn't complain, and he actually played with more physicality than I had seen him play his first 2 years at Texas. We were winning, and he played a lot of winning football, even an unselfish football with his blocking. The other thing that kind of bumps him up for me as a prospect is his punt return ability. He was the best punt return man in the country this past year. And this was a guy who I had questions about his. As much as I favored his deep speed, I always had questions about his ability to stop, start, redirect, and just quickness, fluidity of his hips while running with the football in his hands. And that's something I think he improved on greatly his junior year at Texas, and why he was able to have so much success and be an All-American punt returner. So while, I think, with the guy of his size, we got to see what he runs. I think his Texas Pro Day, if he does the Texas Pro Day, that will be interesting too, because as Tim Tebow famously said, all it takes is one team to fall in love with you. But with Worthy, I don't see him falling out of the second round at this point. I just think that he's probably going to stay in that second round area. Um, and he's probably a victim of the class more than him actually being that type of player. I think in a different class, he probably could potentially be end of the first round player. Um, you know, and you look the success last year, of some of these young receivers right off the bat. Jordan Addison and Tank Dell and just guys that were able to come in and be really, really effective right away. Zay Flowers, Worthy's more of those, probably more in the light of those type of guys. So really interested to see where he pops out. And then Christian Jones and down, right? Some of the more developmental guys, sleepers, if you will. Christian Jones, who still has not played a whole lot of football um, in his football career, but somebody who played all over the offensive line for us and had an amazing journey at Texas, quite frankly, just growing, right, and becoming a really, really solid right tackle for us the last 2 years. And to see his development night and day, Christian Jones will be a starter in the league at some point, in my opinion. I think especially with his size and athleticism, I think if he continues on the trajectory of improvement, hand utilization is going to be really, really key with him. So we'll see how that ends up. But I have high hopes for Christian Jones, probably a little higher than that grade. Call it Texas bias. Ryan Watts. The key for Ryan Watts is going to be special teams and positional versatility. Can he play safety? I know that was something, he played boundary corner for us. He was a very, very good boundary corner for us. Uh, Lacks probably deep speed, but he can run in terms of hands-on man and when he's attached. The guy's 6'3". He's going to have great size. Can he play, out in space as a safety and show those tackling instincts and run fits? He was actually a very, very big part of our run fits last year at Texas. So I'm really curious to see how he plays at the next level. And, he's going to need to be a core special teamer. I think Ryan Watts gets drafted, right? I do think he gets drafted. Jalen Ford, I believe, will be drafted as well. He was an All-American the year before. Had some challenges this past year with the OU game comes to mind, and a few games where it didn't play up to his standard. But the thing with Jalen Ford is high IQ linebacker and football player. We know he's going to be a core special teamer. All these guys, Keelan Robinson, Jordan Whittington, hell yeah. And that's how a lot of these Texas guys have opened the door in the league the last few years, even though they haven't been lauded like this group. But one thing with Jalen Ford is the growth of him as a leader, and he's serious about football. He loves football. I think the measurables will be interesting. He's going to need to test better to try to bump that up. But his IQ, the way he can, he developed, especially as zone defense and just against passing, he was able to cover a lot better in intermediate sense, and was picked off a lot of balls for us the last couple of years at Texas. So that high IQ, pattern recognition. I always say the best linebackers are the best people to decipher signals and really figure out what the offense is doing, right, up at the line of scrimmage, playing chess. Jalen Ford, can he show some of that physicality and become a starter? I'm not betting against him, but he's going to need to, develop a little bit more consistency at the next level and continue his growth at, vocally. Keelan Robinson. One thing I'm excited with Keelan is he's going to run well. Amazing special teamer, probably one of the best special teams guys in the country the last 2 years at Texas, coming from Bama. Not the best inside runner or running back instincts, but he can catch the football. He is explosive with the football in his hands. And the best thing for Keelan is his kick return ability that he showed his last year. He actually housed a kick against Texas Tech at the end of last season. Had an explosive touchdown in the Big 12 championship game against OSU. So this is a guy who, if he gets the football in his hands and is utilized in a way as a returner at the next level, has tremendous ability and pretty good hands that he's developed. He came in with shaky hands when we first got him, but improved that a lot. But he will be a menace on special teams wherever he goes. I'm gonna promise you that right now. Not sure if he'll be drafted, but I think he'll make things interesting if he comes out there and busts a number in the 4 threes. And last but certainly not least, Jordan Whittington. And Jordan Whittington is one of the unsung heroes and the testament to this program. I am going to click his profile because he means that much to us as Texas fans. And I know it says candidate for bottom of the roster, practice squad, and but as an athlete, I think Jordan's actually going to be underrated. He was a 5-star athlete coming out of high school. The biggest thing with him was his injuries and what got sapped from him. But he found a new love with football a couple years ago, and I think he's going to be an NFL player and he's going to make a team. I think Jordan Whittington will make a 53-man roster. That is my prediction for him. There's nothing football wise that he cannot do. And then when you watch that playoff game against Washington and that catch he made downfield, he actually didn't get enough of those opportunities to showcase his athleticism. That's why his production score is lower. He played a lot of slot for us. Obviously you saw the receivers we had, Xavier Worthy, A.D. Mitchell, but Jay Witt, absolute dog. Absolute dog. And I think in another world, if he was healthier throughout his college career, probably goes in the first 2-3 rounds. I think that those abilities are still there, and with his love for the game and what he can do, I'm not counting out Jay Witt at all. So that's the crew, and wanted to go over those 11 guys. I know it took me a little while to get through it, but I'm just excited. I'm excited for my Texas guys and watching them at the next level. Hoping they end up in great, healthy NFL situations. Guys, I think a lot of these Texas players will end up on good teams. Just the way the draft is breaking down and how some of the mocks are showing. Let me know in the comments, if you have any predictions or any guys I missed or wanted to hear a little bit more about. Again, the Combine starts tomorrow, February 29th in Indianapolis. We're going to be watching and covering on NFL Network. I'm excited. But it's been fun just talking about my guys and seeing them off, graduating to the next level. Hopefully the Cowboys, I saw the Cowboys did an official interview with Tavondre Sweat. I think Byron Murphy will likely be off the board by the time we pick, but even a guy like a Jalen Ford, who I know we've had some communications with, somewhere in the 4th or 5th round, looking at that guy. Would love to bring a Jordan Whitting into camp for my team. So I'm excited, y'all. Now, again, like I mentioned off top, check out Autograph, new sponsor. Download Autograph from the App Store and use that Fanatic24 promo code. It's coming soon for you Android users. It's coming very, very soon. But guys, look, opportunity to be rewarded for your fandom, representing Texas on the app, growing the Texas community. Guys, they got OU people on there now. They got other schools coming up that we want to show them that Texas presence is the best in college football, especially heading into the SEC. Use Fanatic24 to download that. We have a college basketball sweepstakes going on right now through March 15th. All you have to do is sign up and refer a friend. For every referral that you do, that's an entry into the sweepstakes. And by the way, the prize for that sweepstakes is 8 friends, you and 8 people, round of 8 games, out in Crypto Arena in LA, an all expense paid trip by Autograph out there, just being rewarded for fandom, right? And racking up those points. So memorabilia, autographed jerseys, they're going to have Quinn Ewers jerseys, Vince Young jerseys, all sorts of stuff that you can just have the opportunity to buy at a discounted rate, buy tickets at a discounted rate, win some prizes here or there just for reading, watching, and listening to Texas content that you already do. It's a no-brainer for me. Folks, hit that like button, subscribe. I appreciate y'all. We're going to be back with more. Remember, horns always up. Hook 'em.